Hello, and welcome to the Walking Bears podcast biology edition. Yay!
Wow.
Woo!
Hi, I'm your host Abby with Nate, who is currently filling in for Nelson.
Yeah, he had to go to Buenos Aires, which is the capital of Argentina.
Don't know what he's doing, but he's there.
Yeah, that's not important though, so don't worry too much. Um, all right, what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about the animal cell and its fun organelles it's got going.
Yeah, the tiny organs, so exciting. And they also they're not they they interact with each other. They're good buddies.
Yeah, they do.
Um, see, here's the problem though. I just feel like some people won't understand that biology 105 Ivy Tech dual credit mumbo jumbo nonsense that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So I feel like they're gonna need some kind of analogy.
I think I think you're right. I think we should make our analogy restaurants because I feel like everyone knows about a restaurant.
Most people do. I'd say a good 92% of people have. Like just to clarify.
But just everyone kind of knows the general workings of a restaurant.
And that's why we chose it. Yay us. All right, then, let's jump right into it.
Okay, so we're going to start with the plasma membrane, which can relate to the building of a restaurant. The membrane contains all of the processes that happen inside of the cell, similar to a building. The two sides to a wall represent the double bilayer that a plasma membrane has in an animal cell. Truck deliveries relate to oxygen and nutrient deliveries going into the cell. The no shirt, no shoes, no service policy shows that only certain particles are allowed into and pass through the membrane itself. Overall, the membrane does contain everything inside of it, and that's it.
Nice. All right. So, next, we got the cytoplasm. And the cytoplasm in a restaurant would actually be culinary joy and the overall atmosphere of just food gathering together, just being in a restaurant. Abby, do you know?
Yeah, no.
Okay, good. Um, so the cytoplasm itself is made out of cytosol. It is a liquid. So basically, it keeps all of it's where all of the organelles are like held within plasma membrane. It just kind of keeps everything together. It is the cytoplasm. But in a restaurant, the atmosphere, like what keeps everybody coming back and going in the restaurant is the culinary joy of the food. Like, oh, this tastes really good. And it keeps everyone in place because they're like, it tastes good, I'm gonna stay in my seat and not leave. So that's pretty much all you need to know about the cytoplasm. All right.
Okay, so next up we have the nucleus of a cell, which relates to a customer in a restaurant. The nucleus has all of the information of the cell, which is stored inside of it, and tells pretty much everything in the cell what to do, as a customer tells pretty much everyone what to do in a restaurant for what they need and or want. A cell would not exist if it didn't have a nucleus, as a restaurant would not exist if it didn't have customers keeping it alive, keeping the business alive. A nucleus can be demanding, but it helps the rest of the place function, as a customer keeps pretty much everything else inside the business going. In a restaurant, it's pretty much said universally that the customer is always right, which relates to the nucleus always being right and always having the correct information for everything in the cell.
Yup. All right. So next we're gonna be talking about the rough ER, or in a restaurant, the head chef. So let's get into that. The rough ER, it makes proteins for the cell to use and carry out other processes that it would need to carry out for the cell to function. I'd just like to note here that it is called the rough ER because it has ribosomes on it. We'll get into ribosomes here in a bit and what they do, but I just want to just get that out of the way. The rough ER also, it's a membrane factory. It doesn't just make proteins, it does other things. A lot of organelles do have membranes, as you would need one in a cell, just so that no pesky non-essentials can get in. This relates to the chef because the chef, he's cooking the protein. The meat's full of protein. You got the chicken. Uh, I don't know if fish have. I don't know if fish is protein, but I don't know. I don't sound so smart. Uh, cut that. So the chicken, the steak, the ribeye, all the cuts of meat, all that protein. Mm-mm-mm. And the membranes, you got the cheeses, the cheese membranes. Not literally, but the head chef will also prepare other things that the restaurant needs to have to function. It's the head chef. Gotta do that. So that just about wraps up the rough ER. Let's go.
Okay, so next up we have a vacuole, which relates to a walk-in freezer in a restaurant. A vacuole stores food and nutrients that a cell needs to survive. A vacuole holds all the nutrients until it is notified nutrients are needed. They are then used to carry out cell functions and processes. And that relates to a walk-in freezer, which holds all the food that the head chef takes out and then uses to cook and get for the customer.
Cool. So next, we're talking about ribosomes, the aforementioned ribosomes. The ribosomes would be the line cooks, or sometimes called sous chefs, depends on how expensive the food is. Ribosomes synthesize proteins inside a cell. Ribosomes themselves are actually made in the nucleolus. They're made of RNA, which is RNA is instructions copied from the DNA inside the nucleus. Ribosomes are the line cooks, or they relate to the line cooks, as they aren't the head chef, the head honcho there, but they do synthesize proteins. The meats, not so much the cheeses here, but ribosomes can be found attached to the rough ER. They will be found attached to the rough ER, but they aren't just on the rough ER. They are in a lot of different places, such as the mitochondria, just in the cytoplasm itself, etc. Excellent.
Okay, so next up we have the smoothie R, which relates to a bartender in a restaurant. The smoothie R works with synthesizing lipids. It also synthesizes phospholipids. The processes of both the smoothie R and bartenders are very specific. Bartenders working in a bar have to make drinks for the customers and make sure that they hold a precise amount of certain types of beverages. And yeah.
So it's time to talk about my favorite organelle, the Golgi Apparatus. Sometimes it's called the Golgi Complex, but here we call it the Golgi Apparatus. Uh, but the restaurant analogy, would be that to an expediter, usually shortened to Expo, in a restaurant, the Golgi Apparatus's main function is to alter and just prepare proteins, just anything that the cell produces. It's going to go through not anything. Anything the cell produces will go through the Golgi apparatus to just get repackaged essentially, and typically carried out by vesicles, which we will get into later. So the Golgi apparatus is similar to the expediter or expo, because they are the ones who take whatever the cooks, line cooks, or rough ER or ribosomes. They take whatever that is. They slap it on a plate gently. They gently slap it onto a plate, and then they put the plate. They throw it on a tray. They gently throw it onto a tray. The tray is essentially a vesicle, because the tray is what it's getting transported by. So that's pretty much all you need to know about the Golgi apparatus. Spectacular.
Okay, so next up is vesicles, which relates to servers. Vesicles are used to transport materials throughout the cell. As the nucleus holds all the information, vesicles transport the materials where they are needed. A server brings the food to the customer, but they also take other things other places, so they kind of just transport things everywhere. And both servers and vesicles keep other processes working in their respective areas.
Next, we will be talking about centrioles. And the analogy, they would be the manager, or the front of house manager specifically. Centrioles have an important role to play. They organize parts of the cytoskeleton, such as microtubules, intermediate filaments, and microfilaments. Those are all part of the cytoskeleton, which keep the structure of the cell together. So you can imagine being the one keeping the cell structure together. It's actually a very important job to do. The way this relates to a manager is that they keep everything together. In this analogy, the keeping the structure of everything together is a little bit more metaphorical, as they do not hold the roof and walls in place, though that would be quite impressive. What they actually do is they just make sure everything is going as it should, make sure the structure, like people structure, is just going smoothly, making sure if there's a problem that it's not a problem anymore. Smooth.
Okay, so the mitochondria relates to the wallets of customers. The mitochondria of the cell generates most of the chemical energy needed to power the cell. Wallets hold the full potential of what relates to energy in the cell. If a wallet is the mitochondria, the energy is the money. The money powers the restaurant. The wallets of the customers power the restaurant and keep it going.
So now we're going to talk about lysosomes. And in the analogy, they would be the bussers or busboy, if you want to call them that. I wouldn't. Lysosomes are essentially responsible for removing waste products in the cell. Within them, they have hydrolytic enzymes which help break down the waste products. They're essentially just spheres that kind of just go around and just get the job done. They take care of the waste and then it's gone. How this relates to bussers, they essentially do the exact same thing if you think about it. They go around, they look for dirty dishes and take care of them. Although they don't have hydrolytic enzymes. Though technically they do if they have cells. Huh. But essentially, bussers or lysosomes just do their best to keep the cell clean. Okay, so that's like how cells work and how they're similar to being a restaurant. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
I hope you guys. I hope you enjoyed this.
Monstrosity.
Shut up. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed making it and learning it throughout the course of a few weeks.
Yes.
All right. Just remember to hit that subscribe button, like, comment if you have anything to say. This will be on YouTube. Abby, anything to say?
No, not really. It was a time.
Okay, bye now.
Bye.